Hello everyone and welcome to What Culture. My name is Jules Gill and I'm joined by the man who I will let eat my flesh every single day or night.
Good.
It is Scott Tailford.
Even if it's undead.
And we are here at 4 o'clock. It's
It's 5 p.m. or something.
Because we are here talking about Resident Evil 3, the remake that is hot on everyone's decaying lips at the moment, because obviously with the state of play we got new information, the fact that Resident Evil 3 was going to be bundled with Resident Evil Renaissance.
Project Resistance.
Renaissance, because it's a work of bloody art.
Capcom are having a renaissance, but for now there's a whole bunch of hidden details and different things that you might not have noticed, whether it be in the trailers or complementary media alongside, and we thought we'd run them down. So I've kind of got 6 main things, but one of them we're going to extrapolate into a bunch of other details as well. But the first one is that there is a new dodge move. This was something that was shared by Nibble on Twitter, who seems to just have access to the gameplay. Seems to be more than what they showed at the state of play.
There is a developer's commentary video that was released alongside where it looks like that footage has been taken, but it is definitely true that there is a new or improved dodge mechanic that seems to be making the rounds in this game.
Yeah, so the thing that they showed was that, Jill goes to get grabbed by one of the zombies and she ducks out the way, like sort of, quick fire type way. That thing was in Resident Evil Revelations 2. A lot of fans are saying it's the exact same animation brought across.
It was also introduced in Resident Evil 3, the original one as well, because Jill had a percentage to dodge in certain situations. So it's good to see that is coming back because, as we all know from playing this franchise, that this is the entry where action was definitely ramped up. There are lots more enemies on screen at any given time, and you're going to need new ways to combat that. Because if I remember correctly, I actually watched a nice little documentary on this game, and it was they designed the levels, each of the camera angles, to feel even smaller than Resident Evil 2 to give it a more claustrophobic and personal tone.
Okay, fair enough. I like the idea that they've been able to sort of do something when you're zombies bearing down on you, so I'm kind of game for that.
Well, we did get the addition in the Resident Evil 2 remake of having the safety weapons, as in the knife and the grenades and stuff like that. So I'm hoping that does carry forward as well, because that was a very useful addition. But this dodge mechanic, I mean, I can't say no to not getting bitten. That sounds great.
Speaking of getting bitten, if you pause at around 2 minutes and 19 seconds, you will see a hunter, just to confirm that this enemy creature type thing is coming back, which is pretty much RE3's version of a licker, minus the tongue and with more hopping and clawing at the face.
Glad to see that they're getting their chance to shine, because a lot of people thought that they would make an appearance in the Resident Evil 2 remake, but they didn't, and I'm hoping that this is going to be, because I'd say the one potential flaw of Resident Evil 2 was the fact that some of the enemy designs were taken out, like the giant spiders. I hope that we get to see the giant spiders.
I don't need them, to be honest.
I mean, I do.
No, I don't want any giant spiders at all.
I've got arachnophobia and I don't want them, but I would definitely love to see them.
I will shoot their legs off, perhaps. One thing that I noticed that alongside the game's deluxe edition pre-order is that if you look to the top right of the big sort of picture they've put out with the Jill statue in the middle, is that they have confirmed the classic costumes. For all the people that wanted like classic Jill and classic Carlos, if you pre-order, you have to pre-order, but you can pre-order to get the original designs.
There was also a hint of that at the very, very end of the State of Play announcement trailer, where it flashed up saying that you could get them as well, which is great, because in the developer video they actually talked about why they redesigned her. They basically said that they wanted to reflect more of an action focus, and it was just something that they wanted to change up for it. So it was just little tweaks to the character to make them feel relevant.
I will pay for the additional sweater. I'll pay for the thing around the waist.
Yeah, fair enough.
What I want, to be honest. Nemesis has got the most stuff done to him by the looks of it. Obviously, the vision. It's not. I was going to say overhaul, but they've kind of got this new design where it looks more like flesh stretched over his face, as opposed to just all of him.
He's got a nose.
He's got a nose. Yeah. He's got massive teeth now. There's a screenshot that they've put out where he's sort of just yelling with his massive teeth. He looks quite cartoony, but whatever. The thing that was quite huge in the footage, though, is that it looks like he's being created. They've given him more of an origin story, because there's an umbrella scientist talking over the top of a body on a table with a metal thing over his heart being injected with a bunch of syringes. So point one is that that Nemesis seems to have an origin now. But that, doing a bit of research, that was also around in 1999 when this dude called Lee Chung-hing did a comic in China, which was an official tie-in at the time, that did the whole origin of Nemesis as the continuation of the Tyrant from the original Resident Evil.
But is it canon?
Well, that's the thing. That Capcom have never really gone back and said exactly this is canon. They refer to the games as mainstream canon, but they've also had the books and the tie-in stuff and the wider lore as well. So maybe.
Well, what was interesting about that section of the trailer was the fact that when the scientists were conducting these experiments on it, they weren't doing it in a sort of balanced way. It looked like they were rushing
You think they're controlling him?
Well, I wasn't thinking they were controlling him, more that they were rushed, as in something's happening at the time where they are forced to push this biological weapon into combat much earlier than it needed to be. Hence why they are literally pushing it up into the ambulance at the end, like, oh god, we're gonna have to send it out as is, sort of thing.
See, my thoughts with him is that obviously the way that the Nemesis is brought about is this big like biological super weapon. But like the way that they did him in the Resident Evil Apocalypse movie was to again change around his origin. I know it's not the mainstream canon, but in the movies they had him that he was this dude called Matt Addison, who was a surviving human, who got transformed into the Nemesis, and eventually at the end of the movie his real human nature came back and he fought alongside Jill and stuff. I don't think they're going to do that necessarily.
If they did and Nemesis became an ally,
they
would
won't.
be not happy.
I don't think they'll make him an ally, but I do think they'll do something with him not being a full-on meathead anymore. I think they'll give him some dimension, hence why showing him being created. And just quickly, the fact that so many people will know Nemesis from the movie and not the games. There'll be a whole generation of people that have watched those movies and didn't play the 90s games.
But on the flip side, you can also speculate that this is actually the leftover scrapings of Mr. X. Because as with Resident Evil, you know that good enemies never really
All you need
die.
is one cell, just a little cell.
And the fact that they are show him with an encasement over the heart, which is Mr. X's huge weak spot, it could be that it's replaced it and they go,
that's
right,
really good.
Well, that's the one upgrade we need to make.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. The thing that carried over from the 1999 comic into the 2000 novel was that he was a continuation of the original Tyrant, which we obviously saw get blown up in the first one, and Mr. X was a whole bunch of different versions by the time you put him in the ground. But if they want a continuation of the overall, if they literally want a Nemesis, something that you already have an embedded hatred towards, it would be Mr. X.
Which is interesting because that's not actually what this remake is called. It was called, obviously, Resident Evil 3 Nemesis on the PlayStation 1 when it first released, but now it is just being called Resident Evil 3, which is an interesting one because that changes the tone of the game quite dramatically. It's not about the enemy, they say, it's about the journey of Jill going forward.
Yeah, say you didn't know about the original Resident Evil 3 Nemesis. If you just thought, like, I mean, you know it's a remake or whatever, but you don't know about how much of the story is focused, how much of the gameplay is focused on Nemesis himself, you would just look at this and go, okay, it's Resident Evil 3, and the trailer sells the whole conspiratorial government agency, what's really going on with Umbrella type stuff. That could easily just be the majority of the thrust, and they put Nemesis in the background as this weird weapon that gets used a couple of times.
I mean, if you think about it, he's not actually shown that much in the trailers.
No.
Like, I would have thought that he would have been the focal point for this, but there we go. We're going to have to just wait and see with that
Maybe.
one.
I have a couple more things. Nemesis is known for saying stars at every given time. Stars. So he does say this in the trailer, but it's blocked out. It's kind of like muffled by all the flames that are kicking up at the very beginning when we see the first-person version of Jill escaping from the Nemesis. But if you're wondering about the iconic thing that Nemesis says, it seems like it's still in here. He's still going to be bass bellowing your general direction at all times.
I love that he's basically like programmed in such a way that it's just kind of like, right, you've just got to hunt this one group of people. All right, okay, how will I notify that I'm doing this? Stop.
Like a giant bat, he just sort of lets it go, and then whatever pings back, he goes for that. But yeah, I think if they do more with him, it'll be more interesting. He's a better villain if they give him more motivation rather than just, like I said, late 90s meathead type dude that just wants to kill.
You say that, the way that they make him the best villain ever in most of the Resident Evil canon is just what they've already done. Just give him a bloody rocket launcher.
I don't want that.
The rocket launcher was the best thing.
No, I do.
You just walk around like,
yeah. While he says stars. Although,
that's amazing.
A connection from the rocket launcher, we do see the helicopter being blown apart, the thing that's potentially going to save Jill. And Ben Roy was saying before we came in that he thinks that means that it changes the location where you first fight Nemesis, because the helicopter goes down before you fight him, but in the original game, you fight him in what looks like a park bench kind of area, which they seem to have changed.
The Resident Evil 2 remake did a lot when it came to taking elements of the story that everyone knew and loved and putting them in different areas. Obviously, you don't meet Kendo until quite later on in the story, when he's actually the very forefront of Resident Evil 2 on the PlayStation 1. So it could well be that they're just mixing up the elements. They stay the same in terms of the story, but they're just mixing up when they happen in there. So
I want Brad Vickers to be in that helicopter instead, and then bring him down inside it.
Interestingly enough, Brad looks very unbitten when we saw him in the trailer.
Unskewered.
But when you find him in the original game, straight away he is being chomped on, and then he goes, "I'm done for," and then he runs off and then gets his face completely mulched by somebody else. else.
I'm just thinking of like what remaining iconic characters there are to mulch in different ways, and Vickers is one of the only ones that they. I mean, it's we know he's gonna die.
Oh yeah.
So do something cool with his death, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's very little footage out there overall, but it is worth coming through just because it's Resident Evil, and there's things to talk about. So that's all we got for now. But chances are we'll have more in the future.
Indeed, and we will continue to bring you lots more news as and when it develops. But if you want to follow us personally and keep up to date on that side, you can do so at RetroJ for myself and
@/LP89.
You are damn right you can. Whatever you are getting up to today, I hope you have a fantastic day, and we'll speak to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.